Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Yeah, your brother's gonna die up in
There's a 3-year-old child present for this incident. The defendant fought with officers, and the victim suffered 9 deep puncture wounds. He only state police said punch. 2 million.
I mean, obviously, I read through the report. It is, I know he's emotional right now, but it's a very disturbing report to read when people are calling the police indicating someone is screaming and asking or requesting help, and then he called actually the police and indicated, quote, "I just stabbed my bitch," close quote. The police were able to get the child, I guess, out through a window, the 3-year-old. He finally let the police in, according to the report. And I believe the defendant, even down at the station, did not disagree. She was calling the police because he had made an oral threat. And as a result of her attempting to call the police is when he admits that he took out a knife and he did stab her. It does indicate, as the state said, that it looks like there were a number of numerous wounds on the victim. The victim was alive when the police were there, but obviously she succumbed to these injuries. Also sounds like they had a prior relationship some time ago, and there was some attempt over the last few weeks, according to the defendant, to rekindle it. It certainly calls for a serious bond, a domestic homicide or someone. I'll set the bond at $2.5 million. This will argue the bond again over there. But January 14th will be the next date at 235 Church Street.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, your brother's gonna die up in
Her name was Destiny Rumley, and she was only 21 years old, which is an age where life still feels unfinished, because it is unfinished. Because you're still becoming, still figuring out who you are, still raising a child while you're barely grown yourself, still believing that love is supposed to hurt sometimes, and that arguments cool down and tomorrow comes. Destiny was a mother before she was allowed to just be young, and that already tells you something about her heart, about how early she learned responsibility, about how much she was carrying quietly while the world kept moving. On the morning of December 30th, while most people were thinking about the end of the year and what they were leaving behind, Destiny was inside her apartment in East Haven, Connecticut, in a space that should have been safe, a space her child knew, a space where nothing violent should have ever crossed the threshold. Around 8 in the morning, the kind of hour where routines haven't even fully started yet, police got the call. Not a rumor, not a maybe, a call that said something bad was happening right now. When officers arrived, they didn't have to search for the problem, because the problem was standing right there. Tyreek Black, also 21, the father of her child, was in the doorway of the apartment, and there was a knife nearby. Not hidden, not discarded far away, just there, like the truth had nowhere to go. Police would later say he had called, too, that he told them what he had done, and then he barricaded himself inside like the moment could be paused if he closed the door, like consequences could be held back if he stayed still long enough. Inside that apartment, Destiny was on the ground. 9 stab wounds. Not one moment, not a blur. 9 separate decisions made while she was right there, while the air was still moving, while her child was still in that home. Their 3-year-old was inside doing all of it, close enough that officers had to remove the child through a window to make sure nothing else happened, and if that detail doesn't stop you, if that doesn't sit heavy, then nothing will. Destiny was rushed to the hospital, and for a moment there was still that thin thread people cling to, that hope people whisper about, but she didn't make it. She died from her injuries, And just like that, a young mother was gone, and a child's life was split into before and after. When Tyree Black was brought to court, the room couldn't hold the weight of what had happened. Destiny's family was there, and grief does not sit politely on a bench. Grief does not lower its voice when the person responsible walks in front of you breathing. There was chaos, there were officers stepping in, there were people trying to reach him, because sometimes pain wants contact, sometimes pain wants answers it will never get. Her cousin, Angel Hubbard, said the part out loud that most people only think, that even life in prison doesn't feel like justice when someone you love is gone, that there is no sentence that brings a mother back, no charge that explains why a child has to grow up without one. The judge set bond at $2.5 million, and the words sounded official and heavy, but they still couldn't touch the law sitting in that room. Police charged him with murder, with assault on officers, with interfering with an emergency call, with risking the life of a minor, and all of those words are true. But they still don't fully explain the silence that comes after something like this. They don't explain the apartment that will never sound the same, the routines that stop mid-step, the way holidays feel hollow when one person is missing and everyone knows why. Authorities said there were no prior restraining orders, no documented history that would have warned anyone. And that detail matters because it reminds people how often violence shows up without paperwork, how often the danger is known only inside the home until it's too late to name it. This is not a story about a bad day. It's a story about how quickly life can be taken when control turns into something darker, when anger is acted on instead of walked away from, when someone decides another person doesn't get to see tomorrow. Destiny Rumley was 21 years old. She was a mother. She was loved. Her child is still here, carrying a memory they're too young to understand and a loss they'll grow into slowly. And no matter how many court dates come next, no matter how many charges are read out loud, the truth stays the same. She should still be here.